Okay, sorry about that. I have to turn the light off in my closet and close the door. My bad. Anyway, what's up, radio fans? Big Al here on this Saturday, July 30th, 2022. And we are back with another edition of the AM and FM stations from across the country. And our State to State Series 6 is down to Florida, as we will be looking at three new markets in the Sunshine State, and we'll be reissuing three others. So in the latter part of this series, we will be reissuing the Miami-Fort Lauderdale market, which also includes the Key West radio stations. We'll also be reissuing the Orlando, Daytona Beach, Melbourne radio market, as well as the Tampa, St. Petersburg market, which also includes the cities of Lakeland and Sarasota. So those will be coming down the pipe soon. And as for the three markets in Florida that we'll be taking a look at, we'll be looking at the Tallahassee market as well as the Fort Myers Naples market. Those two will be coming soon as well, but today's focus will be on the Jacksonville, Florida market. Jacksonville is the most populous city in the state of Florida and is the fourth largest metro area and radio market behind Miami, Tampa, and Orlando. Alright, so we'll be looking at all the radio stations, all the full power radio stations on air in Jacksonville, Florida, as well as Brunswick, Georgia. So this will cover Northeastern Florida and Southeastern Georgia. Now, I did not include stations from Gainesville or Lake City on this list, so it's just Jacksonville and Brunswick. Okay, without further ado, let's jump right into the AM stations. This is part one of our look at the Jacksonville market, the AM radio stations from Jacksonville, Florida, and Brunswick, Georgia. Starting off on 5:50 AM, WAYR, Fleming Island, Florida, known as Way Radio, featuring a Christian talk and teaching format. This station signed on the air on May 26, 1960. They have a Class D license with the Federal Communications Commission, broadcasting with a daytime ERP of 5,000 watts and a nighttime ERP of 500 watts. The studios and transmitter for WAYR are located at 2500 Russell Road in the Jacksonville suburb of Green Cove Springs, Florida. WAYR is owned by Good Tidings Trust Incorporated, and programming is relayed on translator stations W277DE on 103.3 FM in Fleming Island, and on W285FE 104.9 FM Jacksonville, and programming is simulcast on WAOC 1420 AM in St. Augustine. And we'll be talking about that station a little later on. 600 is WBOB Jacksonville, AM 600 and FM 101.1 The Answer, featuring a conservative talk format, affiliations with Salem Radio Network, Town Hall News, and Westwood One. WBOB signed on as WMBR on December 9, 1933 on 1270 kilohertz. So this makes it one of Jacksonville's oldest radio stations. 600 AM underwent 7 call sign changes with 5 sets of call letters, including WMBR. Its second run as WMBR was from 1975 to 1977. And they also used WPDQ as its call sign twice, from 1942 to 1975 and again from 1994 until 1996. As I mentioned, the station began at 1270 AM, moved to 1400, and then to 1460 before finally landing on 600 sometime in the 1970s. WBOB has a Class B license with the Federal Communications Commission, broadcasting at the maximum 50,000 watts during daytime hours and at 9,700 watts during nighttime hours. Their studios are located at 7235 Bentley Road with transmitting facilities on Normandy Boulevard, both in Jacksonville. WBOB, AM 600 and FM 1011, The Answer, is owned by Chesapeake Portsmouth Broadcasting Corporation, and their programming is relayed on translator station W266CX at 101.1 FM in Fruit Cove, Florida. As I said, WBOB is one of Jacksonville's oldest stations and is also Jacksonville's former home of Radio Disney. 690 is WOKV AM, Jacksonville. They're branded as ESPN 690, Jacksonville, featuring a sports format as the Jacksonville area affiliate of ESPN Radio. WOKV AM signed on as WAPE on October 23, 1958. They became WJKF and then later WPDQ both in 1989 before switching to WOKV in 1994. They have a Class B license with the FCC, broadcasting at 50,000 watts days, 25,000 watts nights. Their studios are located, give me a second because I have the wrong address listed. I am a paper freak. What can I say? The actual address for this station is 8000 Belafort Parkway in Jacksonville. That's their studio address. The station operates two transmitters. The 50,000 watt daytime transmitter is located at 3651 US 17 in Fleming Island, Florida, while their 25,000 watt nighttime transmitter is located off of Lake City Road or US 90 and Florida State Highway 10 in Jacksonville. WOKV-AM is owned by Cox Media Group and licensed to Cox Radio, LLC. Alright, 790 takes us to Brunswick for the first time. That's WSFN, Brunswick. ESPN, Coastal Georgia. This is also a sports formatted station affiliated with ESPN Radio. They signed on the air on September 1st, 1966. They have a Class D license with the FCC, broadcasting at 500 watts days and 115 watts nights. Their studios are located at 7515 Blythe Island Highway in Brunswick. Now, this address was collected from radiolocator.com via the FCC database, so it may be outdated. The transmitter is at that same location, 7515 Blythe Island Highway in Brunswick. Owner and licensee of WSFN is Southern Media Interactive, LLC. And programming is relayed on translator station W279BC 103.7 FM, Brunswick. 930 is WFXJ, Jacksonville. Acción 97.3. This is a Spanish news and talk station that launched not too long ago. And this is the oldest radio station in Jacksonville, signing on the air as WJAX in November of 1925. The station became WNZS on December 2nd, 1991, and then on March 8th, 1994, the station briefly became WJGR before changing back to WNZS. It officially became WFXJ on March 16, 2001, and that call sign has stuck ever since. WFXJ has a Class B license with the FCC, broadcasting with an effective rated power of 5,000 watts. Studios are located at 11700 Central Parkway in Jacksonville. Their transmitter is near the Hyde Park Golf Club on Hyde Grove Avenue, also in Jacksonville. WFXJ Acción 97.3 is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed to IHM Licenses LLC. Programming repeats on WKSL 97.9 FM HD2 in Neptune Beach, and is relayed on translator station W247CF at 97.3 FM in Orange Park, Florida. Again, WFXJ is Jacksonville's oldest radio station. 970 and 1570 broadcast the same program. So we'll get both of these out the way. You've got WNNR Jacksonville on 970 and WVOJ Fernandina Beach, Florida on 1570. These two stations are branded as La Raza 92.9. Both feature a regional Mexican format. WNNR signed on the air as WVOJ on March 1st, 1984. While the current WVOJ on 1570 signed on as WPBF on November 30th, 1955. This station underwent 5 call sign changes using 5 sets of call letters until becoming WVOJ in 2004. In fact, both 970 and 1570 swapped call signs. WNNR, which was 1570, is now 970, and then WVOJ, which was 970, is now 1570. Both stations have Class D licenses with the FCC. WNNR operates at 1,000 watts during the day and 164 watts at night, while WVOJ operates at 10,000 watts during the day and 30 watts at night. WNNR's transmitter is located off of Carrollton Road near I-95 and Lem Turner Road in Jacksonville, while WVOJ's transmitter is located at 603 Dade Street in Fernandina Beach. Programming for both stations originate from 4801 East Independence Boulevard, Suite 800 in Charlotte, North Carolina. And both stations are owned by Northeastern Consulting and Management Incorporated. Translator station W225BI 92.9 FM, Stockdale, Florida, relays WNNR, and that's the source of the station's brand. While translator station W222CL 92.3 FM, Fernandina Beach, relays WVOJ. 1010 AM and 92.5 FM, channel 223 are the same station. You got WJXL AM and WJXL FM, both of which are licensed to Jacksonville Beach, Florida. And both are branded as 1010XL 92.5 FM. Both stations feature a sports talk format and serve as the Jacksonville affiliate of CBS Sports Radio. They are also Jacksonville's official home of the Florida Gators, so you will hear Florida football and Florida men's basketball on 1010XL and 92.5 FM, which is also the radio flagship home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM on 1010 signed on the air in 1947 as WJBB. They underwent 4 call sign changes using 4 sets of call letters until becoming WJXL AM with its current sports format, in 2007. WJXL FM on 92.5 signed on as WOKF in November of '89 and became WFJO in 2003, and then they began simulcasting as WJXL FM in 2012. They began simulcasting with WJXL AM in 2012. WJXL AM has a Class B license with the FCC, broadcasting at 50,000 watts during the day and 30,000 watts at night. Their transmitter is on Lake City Road or US 90 in Jacksonville. WJXL FM has a Class A license with the FCC, broadcasting full-time at 1,700 watts from their transmitter located at 8541, I'll try and read this, 8541 Newton Road in Jacksonville. Studios for both stations are located at 9117 Hogan Road, also in Jacksonville. WJXL AM is owned by Seven Bridges Radio LLC, while WJXL FM is owned by River City Broadcasting LLC. 1050 is WROS Jacksonville. They're branded as WROS 1050 AM, The Rose of Jacksonville. This station features a Christian music or a Christian radio format, signing on as WQIK AM on 1280 kilohertz in 1955. The station would move to 1090 AM in 1967 and switched its call sign to WCHG on January 1st, 1976. The following year in 77, the station would move to their present home at 1050 and returned to the WQIK AM call sign on November 3rd, 1978, and then changed to the present WROS on May 6th, 1980. This station has a Class D license with the FCC, broadcasting at 5,000 watts days and only 13 watts at night. Studios, offices, and transmitter are located at 5590 Rio Grande Avenue in Jacksonville. WROS is of course owned by WROS, The Rose of Jacksonville LLC. 1100 is WCGA, Woodbine, Georgia. News Talk 1100's WCJA. This station features a news talk format, affiliated with Fox News Radio and the Salem Radio Network. This station signed on the air on June 15, 1987 as WGMM. During the station's construction permit from 1986 to 1987, they used WGBE as their call sign, and then switched to WGMM upon signing on officially. And not too long thereafter, they became WCGA. That was in 1988. WCGA has a Class D license with the FCC, broadcasting with an effective rated power of 10,000 watts during daytime hours only. Studios are located at 714 Narrow Way in St. Simons Island, Georgia, or should I say on St. Simons Island, Georgia. The transmitter is located off of Providence Church Road in White Oak, Georgia. WCGA is owned by the Cox Broadcast Group Incorporated, which is no relation to the Atlanta, Georgia-based Cox Media Group, who does own stations in the Jacksonville market. And based on its license of being a daytime-only station, WCGA must sign off the air at local sunset due to FCC regulations. 1160 AM and 92.1 FM, channel 221, both broadcast the same programming. 1160 AM is WEWC Callahan, Florida, while 92.1 FM channel 221 is WJXR McClenny, Florida. These two stations are branded as Latina 92.1. They list WEWC as a regional Mexican station and WJXR as a Spanish tropical station. Both are affiliated with CNN Radio. WEWC Callahan signed on the air as WELC in 2001. WJXR McClenny signed on the air in 1985 and used WBKF as its call sign during the station's construction permit up until 1984 and became WJXR upon sign-on. WEWC has a Class B license with the Federal Communications Commission. They broadcast at 5,000 watts during the day, 250 watts at night. Transmitter is located off of Pritchard Road in Jacksonville. WJXR McClenny has a Class C3 license, operating full-time at 25,000 watts from its transmitter off of US 90 or Beaver Road in Jacksonville. Programming originates from studios at 4801 East Independence Boulevard, Suite 800 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Both stations are owned by Norberto Sanchez / Norsan Consulting and Management Incorporated. The licensee for WJXR is Norsan WJXR LLC. 1170 is WSOS, St. Augustine Beach, Florida. WSOS 103.9 FM, featuring a classic hits format. This station signed on the air on October 15, 1986 as WAIA, became WHWY in 1990, WKLN in 1992, and finally WSOS in 2003. They have a Class D license with the FCC, broadcasting with a daytime-only effective rated power of 710 watts. Their studios are located at 257 Zegmont Court in St. Augustine. Their transmitter is on Eunice Drive, also in St. Augustine. WSOS is owned by Kevin L. Gettings, and licensed to WSOS Radio LLC. By FCC rules and regulations, WSOS is a daytime-only station and must sign off the air at local sunset on 11:70 a.m. However, programming is relayed 24/7 on translator stations W239CN at 95.7 FM in St. Augustine Beach, and on W280EY at 103.9 FM in St. Augustine, the latter being the source of the station's brand. 1190 is WWIO AM St. Mary's, Georgia. No brand for this station. They have a Christian format. Affiliations with SRN News or Salem Radio Network News. This station signed on the air as WECC AM in 1985 and became WWIO in 2002. They have a Class D license with the Federal Communications Commission, broadcasting at 1800 watts during daytime hours only. Their studios are located at 5465 GA 40 or Georgia State Route 40 in St. Mary's, Georgia. The station's transmitter is located near the intersection of GA 40 and St. Mary's Road in Kingsland, Georgia. It's a small town just north of the Florida-Georgia line. WWIO is owned by Lighthouse Christian Broadcasting Corporation and is a daytime-only station, so they too are required to sign off the air at local sunset. However, their programming is relayed 24 hours a day on translator station W232DA in St. Mary's, Georgia on 94.3 FM. WWIO was granted an FCC construction permit to relocate to a new transmitter site, increase its daytime effective radiated power to 2,500 watts, and add nighttime service to 85 watts. And according to Wikipedia, WWIO AM is an AM simulcast of WECC FM in Folkestone, Georgia on 89.3, and we'll talk about that station in part 2 of the Jacksonville radio rundown, so be on the lookout for that. 1220 is WKTZ Jacksonville, branded as AFR Talk. This is conservatively Catholic or Christian talk and teaching programs. This station signed on as WPEG in February 1958. Now, this is the AM station. There is a hip-hop station in Charlotte that also uses the WPEG call sign, but it's on FM. This station became WQTY in 1960, WDCJ in 1963, WRXJ in 1984, and WJAX in 1987. This is 1220's third run as WKTZ, as this call sign was used on 1220 twice in the past. Originally from 1971 to 1984, and again for a short period in 1986 and 87. They have a Class D license with the FCC, broadcasting with a daytime ERP of 1,000 watts and a nighttime ERP of 36 watts. Programming originates presumably from AFR studios in Tupelo, Mississippi. AFR's mailing address is P.O. Box 3206, Tupelo, Mississippi 38803. WKTZ's transmitter, in the meantime, is located off of Florida Road 115 or Arlington Expressway in Jacksonville. WKTZ is owned by AFR's parent company, American Family Association, and programming is relayed on translator stations W252DJ 98.3 FM and W270CD 101.9 FM, both of which are licensed to Jacksonville Beach. And this is also the only AM station that American Family Radio owns. Next up on 1240 is WFOY, St. Augustine. WFOY News and Talk. News, Sports, and Talk, I should say. This is a news talk format with hourly news updates from CBS News. And local news from Florida's news networks. And this is also St. Augustine's affiliate for Florida Gators football and men's basketball and the Jacksonville Jaguars. WFOY signed on the air on 1210 kilohertz on February 11th, 1937. The station would then move to the present 1240 on March 29th, 1941. They have a Class C license with the FCC, broadcasting at a full-time power of 500 watts. The station studios and transmitter are located at 567 Lewis Point Road Extension in St. Augustine. Mailing address is P.O. Box 3847, St. Augustine, Florida 32085. WFOY is owned by Matthew Craig Molich something and licensed to Local Matters Broadcasting LLC. Programming is relayed on translator station W271CJ St. Augustine on 102.1 FM, 103.7 and 1320, featuring an urban gospel format with affiliations with Urban One. WJNJ signed on as WJHP in 1940 and held WVOJ and WQOK and WQIK as call signs before becoming WJGR on April 1st, 1994. And then the station became WBOB on March 1st, 2007 before switching to the present WJNJ on May 3rd, 2010. WJNJ has a Class B license with the FCC, presently broadcasting at 50,000 watts during the day and 5,000 watts at night. Their studios are located at 3949 Atlantic Boulevard in Jacksonville. Transmitter is also located in the River City on Ellis Road South at Radio Lane. WJNJ is owned by New Covenant Ministries Incorporated, and programming is relayed on translator stations W224EF 92.7 FM, Orange Park, Florida, and on W279AG 103.7 FM, Atlantic Beach, Florida, which is the source of the station's brand. Now, according to RadioLocator.com, WJNJ may be operating with a construction permit with the FCC to downgrade from a Class B license to a Class D license, which will lower their daytime ERP from 50,000 watts to 16,000 watts and drop its nighttime ERP considerably from 5,000 watts to only 80 watts. From a new transmitter site on King Street in Jacksonville, this construction permit with the FCC expires on August 31st of 2024. So they're probably working on this right now, lowering from a Class B license to a Class D. $13.60 would be a competitor to $13.20, and that's WCGL, Jacksonville. Victory AM 1360, also featuring an urban gospel format. This station signed on as WOBS in 1948. They have a Class D license with the FCC, broadcasting at a daytime ERP of 50,000 watts, nighttime ERP of only 89 watts. Studios are located at 3890 Dunn Avenue in Jacksonville. Transmitter is located at 2414 Jernigan Road, also in Jacksonville. WCGL is owned by JBD Communications Incorporated, and programming is relayed on translator station W234CW at 94.7 FM, Jacksonville. 1400 is WZAZ Jacksonville, which is currently silent. Before falling silent, they were known as Gospel 1400 The Light, featuring a gospel music format. This station signed on in 1950 as WRHC, became WERD in 1972, and WZAZ in 1984. Studios are located at 4190 Belfort Road, Suite 450 in Jacksonville. Transmitter is on King Street, also in Jacksonville. This station is owned by Titus Harvest Dome Spectrum Church Incorporated, and programming is relayed on translator station W254 at 98.7 FM in Jacksonville. And again, 1400 is presently silent. 1420 is WAOC St. Augustine, Way Radio, featuring a Christian talk and teaching format. Signing on the air on January 3rd, 1954 as WSTN, became WETH in the 60s, and finally WAOC in 1970. They have a Class B license with the FCC, broadcasting at 2,000 watts days, 230 watts nights. Studios are located at 2500 Russell Road in Green Cove Springs, Florida. Mailing address is P.O. Box 3847, St. Augustine, Florida. Transmitter is located at 567 Lewis Point Road Extension on the WFOY Tower, also in St. Augustine. WAOC is owned by Good Tidings Trust Incorporated, and programming is simulcast on WAYR 550 AM, Flemington, Florida. Now that station airs to the immediate Jacksonville area. Programming is relayed on translator W243AW at 96.5 FM, licensed to the Jacksonville suburb of Middleburg, Florida. 1440 is WGIG Brunswick, Real Radio 1440, featuring a news talk format, affiliations with Fox Sports or Fox News Radio. This station signed on as WBGA, which stands for Brunswick, Georgia, in 1983, and became WGIG in 1987. They have a Class B license with the FCC, broadcasting at 5,000 watts days and 1,000 watts nights. Studios are located at 3833 US 82, with transmitter at 180 Davenport Road, both in Brunswick, Georgia. WGIG is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed to IHM Licenses LLC. Programming is relayed on translator station W254DO 98.7 FM, Brunswick. 1460 and 1600 pretty much broadcast the same programming, so we'll knock both of these out. and both are aimed at the immediate Jacksonville area. You've got WQOP Jacksonville on 1460 and WZNZ at Atlantic Beach, Florida on 1600. Both stations are a part of Relevant Radio, featuring a Catholic talk format affiliated with Relevant Radio based out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. WQOP's first sign-on is 1927 as WMBR, at that time licensed in Tampa, on 1190 AM. The station would then move to 1210 AM on November 11th, 1928, and then to 1370 in 1929. The station moved its city of license from Tampa to Jacksonville in 1933, changed frequencies to 1400 AM in 1941 before landing on 1460 in 1948. It is on 1460 that the station became WDQ, that was in 1975, as well as WFYV AM in 1987, WZZN, and then later WZNZ, both in 1992, and finally as WQOP in 2010. WZNZ signed on in 1958 as WJNJ, became WQBR in 1984, WNCH in 1993, WQOP in 1997, and WZNZ in 2010. So 1400, or rather pretty much, in 2010. WQOP Jacksonville on 1460 has a Class B license with the FCC. Broadcasting at 15,000 watts during the day and 5,000 watts at night. Their transmitter is located off of Wamsley Road in Jacksonville. WZNZ Atlantic Beach is a Class D station operating at 5,000 watts days, 89 watts nights. Their transmitter is in Atlantic Beach on Atlantic Boulevard or FL Highway 10. Relevant Radio's headquarters in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and both stations are owned by Relevant Radio Incorporated. Translator station W229CZ 93.7 FM Jacksonville relays WZNZ's programming. I may have to record this again tomorrow. I'm not sure yet. 1490 is WBGA Brunswick. Hallelujah 96.3. This station features an urban gospel format. Standing on the air as WMOG in 1940, and they kept that call sign for much of their history until becoming WBGA in 2014. They have a Class C license with the FCC, broadcasting at 600 watts unlimited. Studios are located at 3833 US 82, with transmitter at 20 Ward Street at FJ Torres Causeway in Brunswick. Studios are Brunswick. WBGA is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed to IHM Licenses LLC. It's frickin' internet. Alright, the final station on AM is 530 WYMM Jacksonville. Caribbean Pirate Radio, W26, 1987, became WJGC in 1989, WCRJ in 1982, WQS in 1996, and finally as WYMM in 2003. They have a Class D license with the Federal Communications Commission, broadcasting at the full ERP of 50,000 watts, but only during daytime hours. Studios, offices, and transmitter are located at 5900 Picketville Road in Jacksonville. WYMM, Caribbean Power Radio, is owned by AVM Broadcasting LLC. WYMM is a daytime-only station and is required to leave the air at sunset per FCC regulations. However, their programming is relayed 24 hours a day on translator station W243DO 96.5 FM in Jacksonville. And that is a rundown of the AM radio stations in both Jacksonville and St. Augustine, Florida, as well as Brunswick, Georgia. And coming up soon, the FM rundown of the market, so make sure you join me for that. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell twice every time I go live. This is